Hey guys, what's up? It's Drpepperairsoft coming back with another video here today, and this is on 3-Minute Thursday on the most important part of your year that you should have when you play Airsoft. Now, for pickup games, CQB games, quick 5, 10, 15-minute games that are, again, indoors or CQB or something very quick at a very regulated field, or a smaller field that matter, you do not need to have a medic kit, and that's the most important part of your gear. As you can see here, I've always ran a medic kit, an IFAK, no matter what circumstance, whatever the game may be. But for you guys who are new Airsoft players, and you can see my hands moving around a bit, if you're a new player and you don't want to just go out and buy a medic kit, you can easily pick up a simple first aid kit, those little individual plastic ones, or a little plastic bag, and put some items in that, and that's totally fine. But as I previously said, depending on the game, if you're playing CQB indoors or pick up close games, you don't necessarily need to have one, but I strongly suggest having one just in case. Now, I'm not trying to boast or brag or do anything weird, but I am an Eagle Scout, Boy Scout. I've been in Boy Scouts for my entire life, and I've been on some major campouts, hikes, activities outdoors just in general, and I have used a first aid kit many, many, many times. I have had severe cuts on my hands over the years from knives and falling and abrasions and serious things that I needed a first aid kit. Now, it's not something, I'm not trying to either scare you or talk about saying that, my war history here, but it is important to have either a first aid kit or a field that has medical staff or medical supplies on hand. For Buffalo Battlegrounds, it's a very simple indoor field, and as in Erie County, there are tight regulations, and for getting hurt in an indoor field that's 20,000 square feet is not a crucial crucial necessity that you need. So, for when you carry gear like this, you have to think about the games you're playing. And if you're playing outdoor games of any type, I would strongly suggest having a first aid kit. Unless, again, they're very, as I previously said, pickup games or very, very fast, close style games. But take that with, your own discretion. It's not as crucial, but it's still something you might need to have just in case. Now, for an IFAK, IFAK stands for Individual First Aid Kit, and that is very crucial. If I have a first aid kit and someone's hurt, I would obviously be someone who can be there to help them in any circumstance. But, again, with your own discretion, make sure the first aid kit that you have is built for either you or in a dire situation for someone else. But when you take that into your own mindset, that if you do anything to help someone, there might be charges pressed against you. And I know it's different state by state, by country, that varies depending on certain laws, that the Good Samaritan law and all that stuff. But you need to understand that there are professionally trained staff and medical staff there to work with someone who is injured or someone who needs assistance, or even the ambulance or first aid, EMS, if they are needed on the field. So make sure, I'm just throwing out the most important gear and then tips and just lessons for that. This is going to be another 3-Minute Thursday, but it's obviously going to pass that because it is something crucial that seems to be a very popular thing in Airsoft right now. I see it a lot on Reddit and forums and other stuff like that, that people are questioning what other things you need in it, or different types. Coyote Tactical Solutions, One Tigress, I believe, has one. HSGI, Blue Force Gear, they all make first aid kits. Personally, for me, who plays quite a bit of games, I used a Condor rip-away pouch that I will show later. I went and grabbed the Condor first aid kit rip-away pouch. Now this is key to having a nice first aid kit, which is one of the things that I look into a first aid kit most, is having the ability to have it attached to your vest, your belt, your shooter's belt, gun, but whatever you're using, rip off and have this ready to go. Now, not all first aid kits have this feature, so this is something to look into, to making sure, if you want this feature, that it has it. Now, I just thought I'd show you that real quick. And just looking at the size, compared to the Emerson gear one. So it's a lot bigger, and that was the thing that made me switch from this pouch to this one. Now when you're buying a first aid kit, you're trying to find something that's small enough that can fit on your belt or your plate carrier, whatever you're using, in a nice, manageable fashion, but also having the ability to store everything you need in an organizational pattern for whatever you're trying to configure or use or whatever. So now this is the one that I used to use for years and years and years and years. Probably 5 years I've used this, and it fit fine on my battle belt. On my it's like a battle belt / shooter's belt configuration, an assaulter's belt is what they call it. And that fit fine, except at the last game I was running, and I felt almost weighed down. And this as well as my dump pouch. I have a smaller tactical tailor dump pouch on its way that I want to change up based on just my mobility of having something so large. So now, as you can see, the size comparison, this one is just way bigger. So I'll put that off to the side. Now again, back to the Emerson gear. This is, I'm not sure if I mentioned that previously, but this is the Emerson gear first aid IFAK pouch. Now, the next thing, as we've discussed, the most important gear to have is a first aid kit. Now, you may be thinking, as I've talked about, the purpose of one and what scenarios you should have one. It's important to understand why you should have one. As I've said, circumstances can arise that you don't expect, but you may be sitting here thinking, okay, it's a first aid kit, whatever. You know, I've never been hurt, or I have not been hurt, or I've never seen someone get hurt. It does happen. And it's important to carry stuff as bandages, wraps, because you are running, you are jogging, you are moving, you are crouching. There are rocks and trees and ticks and bugs and you know, firefights where it's close and you bleed a little, or the BBs get stuck, or it hurts, or whatever, poison ivy. Indoors, you can get a real bad rash, or you can fall in some of my previous videos where, you know, I fall down and I hurt myself from sliding or tripping or whatever. It does happen, and you need a first aid kit. It can be something from falling on a rock and you need some severe bandages to be out to go to the hospital, to something where you trip and fall and you give yourself a little cut, or from a BB that you need a little bandage. And it's important to have this on you to either help you, as I've said, or someone else, but more or less you with an individual first aid kit built for your purposes. Now, the next thing to talk about is the needs versus wants. Now, well, first let me show you the first aid kit. So this is the Emerson gear one. It's the same premise as the Condor one, but smaller and more high quality. It's about the same price though, and I like using this one, even though this is from evike.com. It only comes in this color format. I'm sure you can find similar ones through Coyote Tactical Solutions, Tactical Tailor, whatever company you prefer as first aid solution. I will link both of these in the description below if you want to be interested in looking for one. But it's important to have the configuration of a quality system that's best fit for you, as I previously said. So in this pouch, it comes in this weird gray, almost a green color, as you can see. It's very interesting, but I believe it works well with my setup on the terms of something that's, it doesn't completely match, but it's unique enough where you understand it's a first aid kit, but it also kind of blends in a weird, if that makes any sense, way. So this bag obviously has the nice rubber fused ends with the little snake knot. Simple buckle system that unlatches it. And then, which I did not know, and I believe it does not say in the description, and I'm pretty sure not all first aid kits come away with the rip away feature, but for this one, on top, has the Velcro, and it has this Velcro first aid, almost like a patch, but it's just Velcro, like flaps, that say the little medic symbol, which is very nice. You don't have to invest in a $5 or whatever patch to put a first aid patch on here. It does come with this, which is a very nice touch, and I think it goes very well with the whole first aid kit. So as you open it up, this thing is hidden underneath in the Velcro part. You leave it out, and then you put on your belt, PC, whatever you're using, and then you can rip it away. It is super easy to rip away because of the size and just the whole ergonomics of the system compared to the Condor one. You are paying for something a little bit smaller, better quality, around the same price. This is made of 1000 Cordura fabric from the Cordura fabric, which I'm not sure if that's whatever to you, just wanting to note it. And this is the entire first aid kit. It's important for me to have something that I can rip away and have right in my hands instead of finagling with my belt or my plate carrier or whatever in case something happens to me. Now if something happens to someone else can grab it, someone else can, whatever the circumstance. So now it comes down to the important, let's see, simple molly onto your whatever. It's important to understand needs versus wants when it comes to a first aid kit. There are things that I would want, such as a tourniquet or severe clot bandaging, but that's for a shooter's belt or for someone who's trained in that field, or someone who has training to understand EMS, EMTs, or you take severe classes to understand the key parts of using those medical items. I'm not going to carry a tourniquet or blood clot because something for that to happen in Airsoft is pretty unlikely. For me to carry that and something does happen, and for me to be reliable or to be relied on to put that onto another person or to myself, I don't feel safe or to be entrusted to do that for someone. So some of those things are things you have to be realistic of, things you want to have to be cool and things that you should just have in general. So for my pouch, you open up with these very nice Velcro or zipper pouch, and it opens up. Now I will say the other Condor pouch has a nicer configuration within the pouches. There are some the way it opens has these weird flaps that I cut off. It opens up like this with the zippered little mesh pouch and these filing flaps, which I do like. I like this whole filing system, which I am a little bummed it doesn't really have it in here. There's one pouch, but that's it, and then these loops. So I like this one a little bit more for that feature, to have different variable system for different items, such as the flip out valve, just different things. So it's all up to your own preference. But for this to be a lot smaller, and this has 95% of the same items as in the big pouch. So, and I still have plenty of room to fit whatever else I need. So when it comes to Airsoft, the typical pouches to use, or typical items to have in your pouch to use, would be bandages, wraps, gauze tape, gauzes, latex gloves, and a face mask. I just keep in here just in case for whatever circumstance. It's nice to have. Electrical tape should always be on your kit no matter what. No matter, somewhere in your plate carrier, in your vest, there should be a roll of electrical tape on a carabiner or somewhere tucked away, because you can use electrical tape for literally anything. It's small, it's light, it's stretchy, you can wrap it. I've used it hundreds of times, easily, either for myself or for somebody else. So I'm not going to have that in here, but I will have a roll of just normal bandage tape. Now this is all simple stuff you can find throughout your own first aid kit in your house, or going to the store and buying some miscellaneous items. But it's important to understand that when you have this, you need items for certain situations. It's pretty self-explanatory. For running and gunning and fighting and shooting and crouching and rocks and trees and all that stuff, you need to have bandages, wraps for severe bleeding, because that's something, well, not severe bleeding, but for bleeding or from abrasions that can happen. And now in certain games, you can use these big bandages for milsim games or type games where you need to be bandaged. So these can be used for that. I really wouldn't, for sure suggest doing that based on keeping your first aid kit all together and not opening it up constantly. But that is something you can use it for. But for getting shot by BBs, I keep bandages, some Neosporin, stuff like that in here. I've never used it, but just in case there's a situation where I get shot real close and I do bleed, I have blood, nothing scary, but I have, had those marks that you guys all probably have before, with a little redness and maybe a little bit bleeding, and all that good stuff. Just in case if it does get worse, you have some bandages, some Neosporin, stuff like that. I also keep underneath here some tick remover and bug bite cream, because in outdoor games, ticks, at least up in here in New York or wherever you're from, if you have bad spiders or snakes or whatever, it's important to keep stuff, depending on your area, just basic common sense for where you live, to have that in your kit if you're playing outdoors or whatever, to have that accessible, because that is something that can happen. I also carry bandages here and gauze because, as I've said, in outside gunning and running and games, you can fall and scratch yourself and hurt yourself and bleed, and I want to be able to have enough bandages to protect myself and for any circumstance when that can happen. So for my first aid kit, in my first aid kit, I have things that I need. I only carry pretty much things that I need. For the bandages you can easily wrap, and you're set to go. If you have a big cut, you can't really use Band-Aids or anything like that. So I carry small bandages, and then big wraps, big pads, basically pads, and then bandages, just a wrap, some tape, you're fine. Now, everyone will carry something different depending on the circumstance. There's probably items in here that you guys think that I shouldn't have, and there's definitely items in here that I should have that you guys can leave in the comments below. But this is what I've used, this is what I've pretty much never used, but this is what I've carried, just based on common sense and circumstances. Now, in any first aid kit, it's the basic premise of protecting yourself from whatever the environment as you're in that I've hammered through this entire video. So this is what I carry in my first aid kit: simple bandages, gauze, tape, band-aids for self-protective equipment in case bleeding are against me or someone else. And that's pretty self-explanatory. You don't need to carry a ton of gear. You don't need to buy a first aid essential kit. That's what I carry when I go hiking or camping, because that's a fully loaded bag. And but it's super thin. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those. I can link that in the description as well. They're super nice for whatever circumstance, super thin. You just need to buy bug bite cream and drop that in there, and maybe some packets of sunscreen, because it doesn't come with that. And that bag is all set. It's probably maybe a quarter of an inch, half an inch thick, and it's almost like a little laptop. You can slide it into any bag, hiking bag, camping bag, whatever. Works perfect. But I digress. So for this kit, simple zipper pull on. You have your red pull tag, which is real nice. You can Velcro it right back on. Clip holds it in place, and you're good to go. It stays where it is. Nice buckle, small, compact, has everything I needed to use for a game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this 17-minute Thursday episode of the most important gear you need in an airsoft game. I thought I'd go into this because there's many of you, hopefully, that might be curious on what I bring, what you should bring, or other items that you may not have known about, such as this way of carrying it, or whatever. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. I hope you guys appreciate this video. Drpepperairsoft, signing out.